Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Schultz, and I just wanted to welcome you to a quick overview of some indicators of language development. So teachers really need to be able to have some concrete understanding of the linguistic benchmarks that students display, things that they, in short, can do with language as they're developing. Okay, so I'll just go over some of those and explain what some of these key terms mean in this short presentation. If you have any questions as we go along, note them, and we'll add them to the discussion board, and I'll respond there. Okay, so it's good to start with some explanation of what the recognized stages of second language acquisition are. The first stage is a quiet, silent, or pre-production period. This is when a student may be developing receptive language and listening skills, and they can probably understand up to about 500 words. It's kind of a little bit tricky sometimes when you think about the silent period. Silent period, well, for example, I'm not undergoing a silent period if someone speaks to me in Chinese, because frankly, I'm not receptive to any of Mandarin Chinese, because I'm not receptive to anything that they're saying. But if I'm studying a language, or I'm in an environment where my language learning was progressing, then I may not be producing anything, but I would be able to understand about 500 words. Okay, you get it. Early production begins the second stage. Students then will move into early production, where they'll be able to string together 1 or 2 words and be able to understand about 1,000 words. Speech emergence, as its name indicates, is when students start talking, indicating their understanding, either with semiotic productions, such as using hand signals, or start using their words. And you'll probably have about 3,000 words as students start to construct complex or compound sentences. Students will then typically move into intermediate fluency, where they can comprehend grade level language with support from their teacher or more knowledgeable peers, of up to about 6,000 words. The last stage, recognized stage, is advanced fluency, which may take upwards of 7 years for students to have that kind of command of academic language. In fact, command of academic language is something that continues throughout life, the lifespan of the human being. We're always encountering new contexts and learning how to use language in novel ways. Okay, so it's good to think of a timetable with some of these things. This one, the quiet period, can take upwards of about 6 months. So don't get frustrated if some of your students are non-productive and more receptive in their language at the beginning stages, and don't push it too hard, because you could shut them down. Okay, just keep giving them support through each of these stages. Provide them, as we're learning especially in 491 and 492 in your methods classes, you'll start to learn a little bit more techniques for supporting oral language development. Okay, I'm going to move on. So in this part of the lecture, I just want to shift to some more specific indicators of language development. Developmental sequences can include grammatical morphemes, negation, and questioning, and I'll go a little bit deeper now. So grammatical morphemes are those indicators of meaning that we use with language. Oops. We have typically the first thing that you will see first indication of development will be use of the ing progressive. I'm going, I'm reading, I'm eating, I'm swimming. Okay. That, for one reason or another, is something that goes across languages, especially Spanish, Italian, etc. That same ing progressive indicator is something that is a grammatical morpheme that occurs first in language development. Use of the plural, use of the copula be in all its forms: I am, you are, he is, she is, they are, etc. Okay, so that's kind of the first grammatical morpheme that will be present. Okay. The next one is the auxiliary progressive. He is going, she is going, and the use of the article. The article can be particularly tough for those whose first language or dominant home language doesn't contain an article. We work with a lot of Russian students and native Slavic speakers like Czech, Russian, etc. They don't have articles in their language, so they have other ways of indicating that. So a new speaker of English from a Russian background may say something like, "I see cat," or "I am going to house." Okay, because they're not using the article. If they're using their first language to construct a second language. The third is something that's unusual. The irregular past is typically developed before the regular past. I'm not quite sure why, but I would guess that my theory is that because it's a marked form, that it's irregular and unusual, that it perhaps stands out and students have a chance of noticing it more. And the last is the regular past tense and the third person singular possessives. If we go into negation, negation is just a little bit, just has to do with how you say something is not or not, no, okay? So there are 4 stages of negation. The use of no or not before the negated element of the word we're trying to show the negativity. No want, no bathroom, no ball, something like that. Stage 2 is when we add the don't. He don't like it, I don't sing. Stage 3, you'll say there's a not before the auxiliary helping verb, such as he was not happy. And in stage 4 of negation, we see there's do with a marked tense for tense, person, and number. Do is a hard one because do does not translate literally into other languages. We use it in a particular way in English. Other languages have that indicator. It's just a little, can be very tricky. So that's that. You can pause anytime, of course, and think a little bit more about this. A third indicator are possessive determiners. The pre-emergent stage, emergent stage, and post-emergent stage. So in the pre-emergent stage, you may have an example such as the boy cry in the arms of your mother, your being the possessive determiner. It's who it belongs to. But you'll see in the pre-emergent stage, there's some non-congruency between the noun or the subject of the sentence and its possessive determiner, such as the girl ride bicycle. Here, that her bicycle, it would be what's the appropriate or most accurate word to use, okay? In the emergent stage, you'll see the mother dress the baby boy. First, the mother put on her hands, and then put on her pants, and then her shoes, and then her shirt. So the gendered form of the possessive determiner is inaccurate at this point. And in the post-emergent stage, you will see something like little girl play with her dad. It's more approximating a more appropriate form. Additional indicators of language development include reference to the past, developed vocabulary, which again happens over a lifetime, and pragmatics. Pragmatics are one of the more trickier things for language learners to develop. Pragmatics just have to do with kind of the practical way folks handle beginning, ending a conversation, interrupting, etc. For example, I worked with she was a graduate student, colleague, friend of mine, and her um, her advisor, a professor, used to speak to her a lot about her pragmatics. She would know how to engage socially very well, but didn't know how to end a conversation. So she kind of just basically would hang around until it was almost awkward. And you're just kind of thinking in your mind, like, okay, fly away. But that's pragmatics. It's not, they're not universal. Um, there are pragmatic differences in the way folks engage in conversational practices all around the world, and sometimes they need to be made explicit to our students so that they can have successful interactions. All right, I went through that as quickly as possible, but stop, listen again if you need to, ask any questions. Okay, glad to help you with those questions. And here I am. I don't know how to end this. I have to work in my pragmatics.